Why is cinematography so crucial to the art of filmmaking? Have you got a couple of reasons why you think it's so crucial?
Um, so there's always this big competition between photographers and sound recordists and maybe even sometimes the editor, and they're
Yeah,
like competing about which one is better and whatever. And between the sound and camera, there's always, well, in the beginning, sound was created before light. There
yeah,
was, God said. So if he
yeah,
said, that means sound. He said with sound, and then he brought light. So,
yeah.
so they're like sound before light,
Yeah,
and
you
they
hear the
try to
thunder before you see the lightning, I guess.
exactly.
Yeah,
And then, like when you're on the set, sometimes the sound guy is always ready. The sound guy is
yeah,
ready, and the camera team, everybody's waiting on camera and lighting to finish
yeah,
putting things together. So, sometimes there's this little, the sound guy is there and he's like, I've been waiting an hour, man. So
yeah.
it's, yeah, so
I'm rolling. Yeah,
exactly. I'm ready to roll. And you're like,
yeah,
oh, just give me 15 more minutes, 10 more minutes, please. So there's this little tension, but
yeah,
it's what makes the production move ahead. It's not like a bad thing. It's,
yeah,
jokes on the set.
yeah,
Um, I think cinematography is important because it's the it's the creation of the other wall, it's how you use elements of reality and you put them together with light to create literally another imagining of space and time
yeah.
in it's I think it's I don't want to say it's more powerful than any other aspect
Hmm.
because it isn't, but I always say to the song guys that there lots of examples of silent films,
Yes.
that there's no recorded sound. I mean,
Yeah,
there's music, and
yeah.
I say so I use it to say so that means you can make a film without the song,
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
the song man.
Yeah,
So in that, that being said, I think, the photography and this, it does hold a bigger stake. I think so, but the song guys don't usually agree with me.
yeah,
Um, and like if the songman wanted to make music, wanted to do something
yeah,
and do create an art form that isn't cinema without image, the
yeah,
only thing that the songman could make is music.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think it's very important. The other thing is cinematography is literally the the knowledge of 120 years of technology and experiments and do's and don'ts, and it's also the language that came out of that time of people experimenting and trying things.
yeah.
It also takes in a lot of psychology,
Hmm.
the associations of color, and it
Yes,
it,
yeah.
it it's the whole range of visual and performing art forms
Yes, so
goes
many
goes
layers.
yeah, it goes into cinematography. I mean,
Yeah,
filmmaking is so powerful because it takes on almost every single art form that's out there.
yeah,
You could put it in the filmmaking process. So
yes,
it encapsulates so much different mediums of expression.
yes,
But the camera is for me, the camera is a mirror. It reflects me in reality, and it reflects reality in me. It's
Yeah.
it's the thing that people interact with, is what we go to the cinema for. It's powerful. Like this is the era of the image.
Yeah.
Like
And
right now,
mm,
like they just made it so crazy so that everybody has a camera on their
yeah,
person
and
at all times.
I
Like
was
it's
just curious, Akeley, do you, I mean, I guess I'm a bit of a traditionalist. Um, because I've studied the art of film. You
right.
read books, you watch films, you rewatch them, you try to understand them, you try to break them down, or you try to incorporate certain aspects of it into your filmmaking. Do
Hmm.
you? I'm in two modes of thinking. Sometimes I think cinematography and filmmaking can become almost elitist, and so
Okay.
it
Hmm.
can it can become quite a little bit dissociated with the world at play. But then
Hmm.
now, like you're saying, everyone's got a camera. It's almost like everyone thinks they're a filmmaker. So I, I'm in a stage where I'm just trying to figure out: is this a good thing that everyone has a camera, or is it something that we need to think about? Does it make cinematography and filmmaking mediocre because anyone can pick up an iPhone, an Android phone, and start filming? I guess my question is to you: has it affected the quality of cinematography and filmmaking?
So this is where it's super interesting, right? Because
Mm,
like I too am a traditionalist because I have the traditional training,
yeah,
but before I had the access to that, like I was learning things from YouTube, and
yes,
the thing that really made me have access to cinema, in my opinion, and to the tools to develop the techniques and to practice, was this same democratization of the image,
yeah,
of the tools to produce the image.
yeah,
Because here in the Caribbean, 10 years ago, I mean, there was films being made, but it was way more expensive than it is
mm,
now,
yes.
because it's an expensive process to create the film,
Oh,
like to
completely.
put, yeah, and the technology wasn't so available then.
Yeah,
So I'm super grateful that, cameras are cheaper now, and
yeah,
I mean, the goal is to have a good high-end camera, but still what you could do now and what you could afford now, you couldn't 20 years ago or even
absolutely.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not, like I'm not bitter about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I've also met people, younger people than myself, who are doing the same thing that I'm doing, and I'm happy that they're interested,
Yeah.
and but sometimes we have crazy conversations, like I might go to a location and I pull out my tripod and I
Yeah.
setting it up, and then some young guy come and say to me, "Yeah, but you don't need to walk around with a tripod in this day and age. You don't need that." And I say, "Why?" And he's like, "Man, you could just get gimbal. As a matter of fact, I just film everything on my phone." And I say,
Wow.
"Well, that's great, but I still think there's some things about this that you don't understand,
Yeah.
and if you continue thinking like that, then there's some aspects of this whole thing that you wouldn't have access to
Yeah.
because you don't understand." And then, I mean, I guess, everybody doesn't have to do everything. You choose what you want in
Yeah.
cinema. So I mean, if there are people who want to create media with cell phones, I say, hell yeah, go do it.
Mm-hmm.
If they come from the places that I come from, the developing third world,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the media that is so interesting to us, and it's so interesting to the diasporas in the cities.
Yes.
It's because media like this doesn't exist, because generationally it's been the other ethnicities that have the resources. They've
Yeah.
been able to tell the story and to use cinema.
Yeah.
And right now it's our chance, and we are now empowered because technology has, in a kind of a way, liberated the
Yeah. Made
things that, yeah,
a flat playing
yeah,
field.
it's more democratic now.
Yeah.
So, if you have a bit of resources and you have the right attitude, I feel you could develop things, and you could be a part of, a bigger movement in
Yeah.
cinema. but
Yes.
you also have to know how to filter out the fads of the day, you know?
Yeah, and I think for myself, I don't know if it's the same for you, but it's that feeling. There's a conversation. We're both storytellers. We're telling a story essentially through moving images. But it's
Yeah,
that feeling when I take out my camera and I put it on the tripod or I'm holding it in my rig. It demands composure. For me, it just demands that respect. It
yeah.
demands me to focus and
Hmm.
and decide what I'm going to do,
Hmm.
because it's just a conversation. Whereas if I had, just me personally, if I had my iPhone, I kind of
Hmm.
feel like at any moment I could be distracted with a phone call or text message, and
Yeah,
then you've
yeah,
broken that moment. But I don't know. Do
yeah.
you
And
feel that way when you've got your camera? Are you having a
cin
conversation?
cinematography is a set of techniques and technology and a system of narrative communication
Yeah.
that it's very specific about what it is and
Yes.
what means what. So there are some traditional movements that exist in cinema. That there's a film called Man with a Movie Camera. I think it's Russian as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Yes.
Is it?
Part of the
Yeah,
Kino Eye or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that film it showcases, the a city coming to life, and but it also showcases the guys who in the day went out and discovered how to use the camera to
Yeah.
communicate certain things, and they discovered a lot of the movements that we grew up seeing on TV in
Yeah.
terms of how the camera move and the frames and the
They
techniques.
created that. Yeah.
They created it at that time. So there is there is a reason why every tripod is set up to pan
Absolutely.
and to tilt.
Yeah.
There is a reason why you invest thousands of dollars in a dolly so that the camera
Yes.
could
Oh.
forward
And
or
you
back.
can't, I don't know, I've tried to replicate that holding the camera on a skateboard. It it doesn't work, because
I mean, it's
it
it's
and you
easier now. It's
yeah.
easier now. Obi, I
And
mean,
you
you
just
could
need,
figure it out.
yeah, you need everything working. Well, you need bodies there, you need people on
Yeah,
set. If you're on a,
yeah.
I've had the pleasure of working on big productions, small productions, when you've got five people and they've all got their roles, and then you're saying, okay, let's try
Hmm.
this different, um different angle, different movement. Yeah, and you're just trying to think on your feet, because a lot of the time it is a bit, for me, it's a bit of guerrilla filmmaking where you're just testing
Yeah,
out things, testing out a
yeah,
shot, testing
yeah.
out
Uh-huh.
a look. But again, you just, yeah, having a dolly, a track
Yeah, yeah,
would just
yeah.
change everything, and it's that ease of
Yeah,
creating that
but
part of the
then
story.
it makes you also respect what you're doing, and it brings you back to mise en scène,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of work and a lot of time to bring a dolly to a
Yeah, and
location, to
set
set
it
it up,
up.
to make sure it's completely balanced and
Yeah.
get the camera on, and then you have to rehearse with the guy who's pushing it to
Yeah.
make sure it's going at the right speed and coordinate with the actors. It's a lot of work.
It's a
So
lot.
that means when you decide that this is the shot, it's because you've completely thought about it, and you know why you're doing this, and it's not, you know, which is the difference between guerrilla filmmaking
Yeah.
and, studio cinematic narrative. Is
Yes.
is is the difference, because it's how you interact with the language.
Yes.
And we're not saying that it's one is better than the other.
Mhm.
We're just saying that it's good to understand the reasons for why a shot is a shot,
Yes.
the
Yes.
reason why you frame it how you frame it.
Yeah.
It's very important to understand. And this is what's happening now, because a lot of people could take pictures and whatever, and
Yeah.
but that's how you filter out who's trying to do something more progressive, and who's just playing in the cliches and the stereotypes,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Have you ever come across in your experience, where the story, and I've found this with filmmakers, where they get lost in the context so much that the story just goes
Hmm.
off balance. And yeah, I kind of think of, I don't know if you heard of the Stanley Kubrick, where Eyes Wide Shut, where he made Kidman walk through a door 100 times. slamming it because he was looking for that particular feel. Sometimes I get lost in that. It's like, no, it has to be done this way. And then I remember, well, hang on a second, it's a film and you have to be realistic. But have you ever experienced filmmakers that have
I
just got
have.
so lost in it that they're losing the storyline?
I have experienced filmmakers and directors who sometimes become lost in the image, and
Yeah,
they're so interested in create a beautiful image that they forget that it's also a story, and
yeah,
sometimes the story is lost, the image is beautiful.
yeah.
But Stanley Kubrick is my guy though. Like
You,
I
yeah,
wish I could work in a situation with such passion.
yeah,
Like, and then it's also passion with the highest levels of production. They
yeah,
have whatever they need to create what they want to create. So,
yeah.
I love Stanley Kubrick. And
I
then
I
he
have to say
also
I
would
love
have,
Sergei
uh-huh,
Eisenstein, and I think Sergei Eisenstein
yeah,
influenced
hmm,
Kubrick quite a bit. But sorry, carry on.
yeah, yeah, I do. But I don't like Westerns so much because,
Hmm.
it's the genre that justified genocide of the indigenous people in the US
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
in this part of the world. So, but the thing I said in the beginning about being able to see some of the magic
yeah.
while you're in production, I think this is why he made her walk through this door because he was looking for magic.
Yes.
That's yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that comes down to having a really authentic relationship with your actor or actors to
Well,
understand
the
who
other
they
thing
are.
too, yes, it is having a relationship with the actors, the
Hmm.
cast, the crew. But then Eyes Wide Shut 2 was Kubrick's last film,
Hmm.
was it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe
So
so. Yeah.
so by then everybody in that room was dying to be in that room.
Hmm.
Everybody who was in the production, they wanted to be there because
Hmm.
he was at the height of his career.
Hmm.
But the other thing about Kubrick is that he started his career as a photographer,
Yeah, yeah.
as a stills photographer,
Hmm.
and he's very invested in the image.
Hmm.
So I'm sure he had an idea of what he wanted to
And it lends
what he
into
was
that.
looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was looking for something, and he always has like a visor, like
yeah.
he has some, and he looks at the shot, and then he tells the photographer, like where to put the camera.
And I sometimes sense that film is fine art distilled into a moving image. That's how I look at it. I'm always trying to think of Michelangelo or Caravaggio. I
Yeah,
appreciate those
yeah.
arts, the light and the dark. And I'm always
Hmm,
trying to think of this beautiful distilled moment in time, and can I
hmm.
recreate that into a moving image? That's quite a feat.